FightNGear here. Just a quick video tonight to talk about my holsters. Once in a while I have to get a plug in for my holsters. I make what I think is the best holster on the market, regardless of price, and in addition to that I make it at a very low price. I want to talk to you a little bit, and what I've done tonight, first thing I'm going to show you, this gun has no mag and no round in the chamber. It is completely clear. Rather than use a plastic gun, I'm actually going to use one of my real guns for this demonstration. And what I want to do, I have some holster backs here from some competitors' holsters. I'm not going to talk about any of the brands, anything like that, but there are three extremely common designs, and then I have a holster of my own. And I'm just going to point out what I think are some critical differences and ask you to consider those when you're looking at a holster. I know that, I mean, you can look on about every Craigslist anymore, every gun sales list, I mean eBay, everybody and their brother now is making a holster. And I want you to know that individually there's not much to a holster. I mean, there's a back, there's some kydex, there's some forming, there's some clips, the attachment. It's not rocket science as far as assembling the holster, but it's actually fairly complicated to get that holster assembled correctly. And the holster has to secure the gun, but make it accessible. It has to keep the gun against your body so that it doesn't print, but at the same time it has to be where it's not pressing against you to the point where it's just miserable to wear. The holster has to be big enough to spread the weight over the belt. At the same time, it can't be so big that it is a bother to wear or impossible to hide. I mean, there are a few things in this that make it where you can't just grab some scissors, some leather, and some plastic and throw one together. And I mean, the other thing is I mold mine in a temperature controlled, it's a special oven, and I mold them with a press that's, it's repeatable. I don't want to tell you much about my equipment because I don't want people to buy the same equipment. I don't mean that petty. I don't want to educate my competitors. But I mean, guys are making these in kitchen stoves. They're pressing them by hand with a piece of foam. They're using presses designed for automobile parts. I mean, there's guys using tile guns to heat it. There's guys that just lay the kydex on it and heat it until it basically falls into place. Other guys mold it so tight that you can see every wrinkle of the trigger and everything else. I mean, I've seen them to where, truthfully, to me they look frightening to put the gun in, because you could actually look at the kydex and see the molding around the trigger as well as the trigger guard. And it just, again, I'm not trying to hammer my competitors. I'm really not. If this sounds petty, I don't mean for it to, but there's more to this than just, like I say, just buying some plastic and a heat source and putting together a holster. One of the things I want to show you, on some of these backs. These are like I say, these are very standard, and you'll see them. We'll start just with some common traits. Everybody is putting these multiple holes on them and selling it as a customizable, you can turn it and move it up and down and everything. And that's great. I mean, it looks cool. It's a great sales pitch. The bottom line is the holster needs to be where the holster needs to be. It doesn't need to be moving around. And I don't care if you're 6 foot tall or 5 foot tall, or if you're 250 pounds or you're 150 pounds, there's certain physics laws you can't overcome. And one of them is you can't have the gun sitting way above the belt leaning out like that. I'm sorry, it's not in there. But I mean, if you have the gun way up here and the belt down here, it's going to lean away from your body and print. If you have the gun way down here and the belt way up here, it's going to be down there so low you won't be able to draw it. And I don't care what body shape you are, that's just not something that you can overcome. The gun has to be in the right position to be drawable. And you look at some of these, and this one's by far the best of those shapes. But even with this one, to get the gun in there at the right place, you either have to have your clips so high that they're up over the leather, or you have to have the clips so low that there's just too much of this gun above the belt line. I should have brought a belt in here, and I don't have a belt in here, but you can see if the clips are down where they're right here, I mean, there's just so much of that gun, so much of that gun that's going to be above the belt line there that it's just not, it's not practical. And like I said, this one's actually the best of these. These were both sold as full-size holsters. And this one, as you can see, there's not enough leather. You either have to have the back of the gun over it, or if the gun isn't over it, it's under it. Again, this one, the clips are in a better location as far as being somewhat central to the gun to keep it from laying out and printing. But to get the gun down here where it belongs, you also have no clearance at all to draw without having to push your leather out of the way. And I mean, if you get the gun up to where it's easily accessible, like that, I'm sorry, I know that's a violation of etiquette to put my finger in the trigger guard there, but to do that, then as you can see, you have so much of the gun exposed, including the cocking striations, however you say it, right there, that it's just not going to be comfortable. This one actually was sold as a full-size blank, but I really think this one surely must have just been a mistake and been made really designed for like a 380. But I mean, there's just no way to get any coverage on this. Again, if you mounted the gun in a somewhat central location, you'd have a little bit sticking over, a lot sticking out from under, but at least with this one, again, you would have the clips in a decent spot as far as being able to hold it back, but there's just no way that's comfortable. This one happens to be mine. Now, this particular one is leather with a snake covering on it. I think it's a good-looking holster. I don't advertise those much. I mean, I make them for people. They're $69.95 instead of $40, but you know, that's another $30 basically for appearance on a holster that's going to be under your shirt. So that's why I don't push them a lot. If you want one of these, I'd be thrilled to make it. It's not real snakeskin. It's snake embossed leather. Real snakeskin obviously would be more, but I can get it in croc or stingray, several things. But like I say, it is going to be leather and bonded and stitched on the edge. But back to actually to what I was talking about here. With this end, as you can see, the clips allow the belt to ride. The top of the belt is going to ride at the top of the clips. It's going to run right along here like that, and it's going to have most of the gun down under with enough of it to be easily accessible without having any problem putting your fingers in there. And at the same time, the belt's going to be high enough to stop this thing from falling out away from your body and printing. You can also see from the back side that other than part of the grip, you have no gun showing anywhere. I mean, it's all leather up against your body, smooth. The round-headed rivets, these are steel tube rivets that I use. No Presto pop rivets, no screws, nothing like that. I mean, I hand set these with a very heavy ball peen hammer and a rivet set. So I mean, if a rivet ever comes out, send it back, I'll put another one in, or if I have to, I'll replace it, the holster, whatever. But I mean, I don't use any of the quickie stuff. It's easier to use those little quickie rivets they sell at the leather stores. You can tap them together with a rubber mallet, actually almost with your hands. But I just don't have any faith in them. But as you can see, this is, I mean, I spent a lot of time on this design, and right here is a critical part of this holster. If you notice the way it is right there, it allows each side of this holster to flex without having to flex where the gun is, and it allows this holster to lay and stay against your leg without sticking out, without poking you. It's a tremendous shape. I try to wave it around enough that guys won't just copy it off of YouTube. At least if they're going to copy it, I want them to have to give me the 40 bucks first. I mean, there's nothing I can do to stop people, but you know, I spent a lot of time. I developed that. When I got it the way I wanted it, I had a die made for it, and now the embossed leather on the outside of this I cut out by hand, so there's a couple of, I mean, there's going to be a couple of jagged edges on that, but the backing part, I have them stamped out when I buy my leather and horse, and like I say, it's my own pattern, and I'm very proud of it. You know, I just don't believe you can get a better holster than that. And like I say, I just want you to take a look at my product and give it some strong consideration. I know there's some people that'll save you $5 or something, you know, or maybe even 10. I don't know. I don't know exactly how cheap some people are selling them. But I mean, there's more that goes into this than just, like I said, just buying some plastic and heating it up and screwing it down on a piece of leather. I mean, there's a little bit of knowledge that you have to develop. And I mean, I'm an avid shooter. I shoot as much as almost anybody I know that's not a competitive shooter or a cop. I shoot more than a lot of cops. And I mean, I'm a concealed carry permit holder. I have been for a long time. I've been making holsters a long time. And you know, I have a lot of very knowledgeable, good friends that are also knowledgeable shooters. I mean, there's a lot of input that's went into this. And like I said, I changed my shape a lot on the backing until I got it to where I like it. Works good on big guys like me, works good on skinny guys, works good on girls, works good with lots of different guns. Occasionally I get a gun that's just so big I have to make a different pattern, but I mean, this works on the majority of guns. And like I say, at 40 bucks, I think it's a bargain. $69.95 if you want the, like I say, if you want the fancy one. The only reason I'm using the fancy one in the video tonight is I've sent everything else out that's going out today, and this one doesn't go out until tomorrow. So I used it. Plus, I thought it was kind of cool looking. But anyway, I appreciate it. You know, I'd appreciate if you check out my other videos. Consider me when you're thinking about getting a holster, and just put a little bit of thought into, you know, the fact that when you buy this holster, I mean, there is some chance that you're going to have to use it at some point under duress to save your life. I mean, most of us statistically never will. But, you know, there's also a likelihood with a poorly made holster that you could dump your gun out in the middle of the mall or a restaurant. I mean, you know, just because I haven't handled it in a minute, I'll double check it. But, you know, I mean, my holster has good retention. You know, I mean, you can sit there, this is a heavy gun, you can sit there and shake it pretty well. I've got my hand under it because it's an expensive gun too, but I mean, you know, it's good retention, but on the other hand, it comes right out. You can hear it click in, click out. But you know, I mean, some of them I've seen are so tight, you couldn't draw them in an emergency. I mean, you just never get the thing drawn. And mine's a good balance there of retention versus accessibility. Shoot safe, thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you later.